It gives us great pleasure to have you join us on Aso Briefing for today. I am Richard Alechinwanyebe. Our top stories. Traders at Apo Mechanic Village shut shops ahead of President Tinubu's visit to commission road infrastructure projects. President Tinubu charges leaders and Nigerians on rededicating selves to the ideals of June 12. Federal government affirms Nigeria's civil service to become fully paperless by December 2025. You are watching Aso Briefing. Don't forget that you can watch us live on DSTV channel 392, StarTimes TV channel 127, and on Free TV. You can look us up on channel 507 on UHF band. We are on channel 38. Now we move ahead with the details of all our stories. Traders and mechanics at the Apo Mechanic Village in Abuja have resolved to close their shops today, Friday, June 13, 2025, to welcome President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is expected to commission a key road infrastructure project in the area. The development comes as part of preparations to receive the president during his visits to the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. According to a statement by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, President Tinubu will commission the newly constructed left-hand service carriageway of the Outer Southern Express Stage 2. The project spans from Ring Road 1 junction to Wasa Junction and is scheduled for commissioning at 2:30 p.m. As part of security and traffic arrangements, the FCTA announced that the Apo Wasa Road will be closed to vehicular movements from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday. Motorists are advised to use alternative routes during this period to avoid delays and congestion. To ensure a hitch-free event, the Apo Mechanic Village Traders and Mechanics Associations have instructed all members to suspend business activities on the day of the event and resume normal operations on Saturday. The move is aimed at facilitating full participation in the welcome ceremony and road commissioning. The FCTA has assured residents and road users that traffic enforcement personnel will be deployed to the affected areas to provide guidance and minimize inconvenience. The administration appealed for public understanding and cooperation during the temporary closure. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has charged leaders and Nigerians on rededicating themselves to the ideals of June 12, which are freedom, transparent and accountable government, social justice, active citizen participation, and a just society where no one is oppressed. This is as he stated that his administration is fully committed to boosting the economy's productive base. The president was addressing the joint sitting of the National Assembly to commemorate the 2025 Democracy Day on Thursday at the National Assembly. Our correspondent, Rosemary Kokotega, covered the session and now reports.
President Tinubu in his address said Nigeria's democracy since 1999 has grown from the ashes and destitution of military rule, taking its rightful place as the only mode of governance of the resilient and beloved people. He said while the country may not be perfect, it is strong, its democracy alive, meaning that the collective dream of a prosperous and a happy nation is still within reach and worth fighting for.
Fellow compatriots, our achievements are not work of one man. They are the result of a collective effort to make possible the Nigerian dream. Yet the journey is not over. We must work even harder to translate broad macroeconomic gains into tangible improvement in the lives of ordinary Nigerians. We must stay the course, reject cynicism, and believe Nigeria can and will rise again.
The president, commenting on recent mass political defection, dissociated himself from any intention to sweep Nigeria into a one-party system. He, however, stated he would not stop anyone trying to join the ruling APC.
To those who ring the alarm that the APC is intent on a one-party state, I offer you a most personal promise. While you are as a result of your panic, it rings an error. At no time in the past, nor any instance in the present, and at no future junction, shall I view the notion of one-party state as good for Nigeria? Equally, my dear friends and colleagues, we cannot blame anybody seeking to bail out of a sinking ship, even without.
President Tinubu later announced the conferment of posthumous National Honors Award of CFR on Kudirat Abiola, the heroine of the June 12 struggle, CON on Pensaro Wiwa, CON on Professor Humphrey Nwosu, and GCFR on late former President Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, among others. The President also announced conferment of GCON National Honors on Professor Wole Soyinka, OON on the journalist and journalism teacher Kunle Ajibade, CON on a legendary journalist and publisher Uncle Sam Amoka Pemoa, and CON on Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka of the Catholic Church. He thereafter decorated President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio, GCON, Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas, GCON, Deputy Senate President Senator Jibrin Barao, CFR, and Deputy Speaker of the House, Mr. Benjamin Kalu, CFR, whose honors were previously announced. Speaker of the House, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin, and President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, commended the President's giant strides since assumption of office, stating areas that further need proactive intervention of the executive to further improve citizens' lives.
Under President Bola Tinubu's leadership, we are seeing transformation in his goal to build and reform the decayed Nigeria. You have demonstrated remarkable result in removing the fuel subsidy and allowing the Naira to float. Now we require an equally decisive intervention in our power sector. While progress is evident, it is time to wave your magic wand once more to break the cycle of underperformance by shifting from an over-reliance on thermal and hydroelectricity to a diversified energy mix.
June 12 became a day of commemoration in Nigeria following a declaration by former President Muhammadu Buhari. The shift from the former May 29 as Democracy Day is in memorial of the election of Chief Moshood Abiola as President of Nigeria on 12 June 1993. The election, which was annulled by ex-military dictator General Ibrahim Babangida. Rosemary Ukokotega, Aso Television News.
The Deputy Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Mr. Philip Agbese, has described the visit of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the National Assembly as a sign of good working relationship between the executive and the legislative arm of government. Mr. Agbese was fielding questions from journalists at the House Media Center shortly after the President's visit on Thursday at the National Assembly. He said the visit was expected and as such should not make Nigerians view the legislature as a rubber stamp. The lawmaker, commenting on the adopted motion to make the joint session commemorative, said it will be more memorial to have both the executive and the legislative arm of government address citizens on Democracy Day. Now, journalists covering the aviation industry have been urged to put public interest first when reporting on stories around the industry. The charge was given by Chioma Agape Ubibi, the facilitator of two-day training for journalists covering the aviation industry by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, in Abuja. Here is the report as presented from our studios.
So we reframe that caption as passengers destroy airport monitor over flight delays. Our headline would be mother and daughter stranded at airline unjustly.
This class activity by the journalists, divided into two groups, characterized most part of the final day of the two-day training to gauge the understanding and knowledge acquired from the teaching by the facilitator Chioma Agape Ubibi. The final day of the training focused on understanding the recent regulatory actions taken by the NCAA, what prompted them, and how they have impacted airlines, passengers, and the safety ecosystem. The session also looked at areas such as the NCAA's legal framework, its autonomy, the extent of its regulatory powers, and how it enforces standards. Another area the session focused on was the economic role of the NCAA and how it regulates market behavior in the aviation industry and ensures fair pricing, competition, and service quality. The Cape Town Convention, how it has been domesticated in Nigeria, and what the IDERA Accord means for aircraft financing and repossession were also discussed at the training. Speaking to the journalist, the facilitator, Ubibi, said it is important for journalists to consider cultural sensitivity, put interest of the public first, avoid exaggeration, mockery, and blame games in their reportage.
We need to avoid exaggeration. We need to avoid mockery. We need to avoid blame games. So, of course, depending on your writing style, because the audience are listening to a particular radio station or news outlet know what they are looking for, why they listen, and they like the style. So if it's their style, but if it's not, you need to avoid exaggeration, we need to avoid mockery, we need to avoid blaming. And also need to put public interest first. So public interest versus public fear. Your audience should come away informed and not afraid to fly. So mentioned previously that we shouldn't put fear in people. So people are now wondering if it's safe to fly in Nigeria, or there are security issues in Nigeria or safety issues in Nigeria, and people are even afraid to fly. So they shouldn't finish reading from you and then they are scared. So you have the right to tell the stories, but you also have the responsibility to tell it right.
Some participants who spoke to Aso Radio and Television thanked the NCAA for the training, noting that they would leverage valuable insights gained to enhance their reporting of the aviation industry effectively. Assistant General Manager, Public Relations Department of the NCAA, Mrs. Uju Mbamalu, in an interview after the training, has this to say.
You know, when NCAA was in Lagos as the headquarters, you are dealing with the League of Airport and Aviation Correspondents last, and we work in good relationship for them to do a good reportage. It's not when you see something, because we are the regulator of the industry in Nigeria, aviation. So you need to get some information, facts, accurate information before you go on there. So we have that good relationship. So when we came over here in Abuja, we tried to do the same. That is why we are training people, and this is the second time, and we intend to go more higher, because you can see you guys are doing the way it's supposed to do. And we have a director, Mr. Michael, who has a listening ear. By any time anyway, will call, he can give you an answer to where you go.
The event, supported by the Director General of Civil Aviation, DGCA, Captain Chris Najomo, and the Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Michael Achimugu, focused on improving reportage and understanding of aviation regulation and consumer protection policies. Richard Alechinwanyebe, Aso Television News.
The Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, Brigadier General Olakunle Nafiu, has appealed for more support to enhance Corps members' financial education, mentorship, technical skills, and grants, which would enable them fulfill their dreams of becoming entrepreneurs. This was contained in his keynote address at a meeting of the scheme's stakeholders on skill acquisition and entrepreneurship development, which took place at the Nigerian Army Resource Center in Abuja. The Director General, represented by the Director of Planning, Research and Statistics, Dr. Ahmed Wada Ikaka, disclosed that the need for more support for core entrepreneurs has become imperative, taking into cognizance the wide gap that exists between the large number of core members that were trained on different vocational skills compared to the few numbers that became business owners. He stated further that the disparity was caused by insufficient access to start-up funds and stringent conditions attached to accessing the same, which were unfavorable to prospective core entrepreneurs. General Nafiu said NYSC had successfully sensitized more than 3 million core members on entrepreneurship development and taken them through hands-on training in one vocational skill or the other since the inception of the SAID in 2012, a significant number of whom had already established their own business enterprises and become employers of labor. He used the occasion to acknowledge MPCL Foundation, Activate Success, and Wema Bank for facilitating the registration of over 30,000 core members, businesses with a 50% discount by the Corporate Affairs Commission, thereby fostering their formal participation in the nation's business environment conveniently. The Director General reassured the stakeholders that NYSC are taking proactive measures to ensure that any kind of support they render to core entrepreneurs will be fully accounted for. He added that the scheme has upgraded the SAID structure on the NYSC integrated system, which provides core members with a single window access to capacity development and entrepreneurship development tools. Speaking earlier, the Director of Skills Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development, Mr. Kende Aremu Cole, said the meeting with the team, transforming core members, strengthening partnership for sustainable skills acquisition and empowerment, was to celebrate the enduring partnerships that has continued to drive the SAID initiative. He urged all participants to contribute actively, share their experiences, offer constructive feedback, and propose innovative ways to improve the SAID program. Now, coming up on Aso Briefing, we have business and more stories. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
We were warned about this marriage. Because we did not listen, the young maiden is dead.
Nana, come here. Hi. Why do you speak so freely with a stranger from Ajani?
We were just talking about offering Ojigijag a seat on the council.
The gods be praised. He has 2 wives. So why are you making it look like it is a big deal?
You are watching Aso Briefing. Don't forget that you can watch us live on DSTV channel 392, StarTimes TV channel 127, and on Free TV we are on channel 507. On the UHF band, look us up on channel 38. Now let's move ahead with the rest of the bulletin. The Green Assembly Initiative has distanced itself from protests planned by some youth across states on June 12, Democracy Day, citing concerns over potential violence and disruptions to peace. In a press release through its president, Comrade Duke Alamboye, emphasized the group's commitment to promoting peace and stability in the country. Here is the report.
The protests, organized by groups like the Take It Back movement, aim to highlight pressing issues such as hunger, insecurity, and economic challenges facing Nigerians. In a joint statement by its president, Comrade Duke Alamboye, and other youth leaders said the NYO acknowledged the economic hardships currently affecting Nigerians, but expressed optimism that the long-term benefits of the federal government's economic policies would eventually surpass the present challenges. The president urged those planning protests to consider alternative methods of expression, warning that demonstrations could be hijacked and potentially become violent. The president has instead called for vigilance and unity among citizens, urging security agencies to apprehend anyone attempting to disrupt peace and stability in the country. As Nigeria celebrates 26 years of uninterrupted democratic governance, the NYO emphasized the importance of unity and cooperation in addressing the nation's challenges. Comrade Alamboye advocates for constructive dialogue and available channels of engagement with the government to express views.
In light of the reports suggesting planned protests in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and some part of Nigeria, we want to categorically state that we are not part of those plans and urge all Nigerian youths to remain peaceful and law-abiding. We call on security agencies to be vigilant and apprehend anyone attempting to disrupt the peace and stability of our country.
Leader of the Ndigbo youth, Comrade Ricky Uwajiofo, said the organization warns against protests that could be hijacked and lead to violence.
On behalf of organizations, we are begging you, there is no need to take to the streets. Let's exercise more patience for our president. He has the good of our youth at heart.
On his part, Mr. Dan of NYO expressed optimism about the long-term benefits of the government's economic policies.
Our prayer is to see Nigeria work. Our prayer is to see young people continually have opportunity in government.
The NYO's position reflects a broader trend among some youth groups in Nigeria who have previously dissociated themselves from planned protests against the government. For instance, over 60 youth organizations, including the National Youth Congress and Arewa Youth Council, declined to participate in an October 1st protest against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration.
As part of government plans to ensuring adequate protection of Nigerian consumers, Executive Vice Chairman, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, Mr. Tunji Bello, has inaugurated a joint market monitoring team in Abuja to fight against fake and substandard products, as well as sharp practices across markets in the country. The Executive Vice Chairman, who was represented by the Director of Surveillance and Enforcement to the Commission, Mrs. Adeyinka Boladale, pointed the need for all hands to be on deck, saying the exercise will cut across the entire nation. For details, our business correspondent, Ile Eimeje, is standing by.
Represented by the Director of Surveillance and Enforcement to the Commission, Mrs. Adeyinka Boladale, at the event, the Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, Mr. Tunji Bello, explained that this is to complement efforts of the Commission in its drive to protecting consumers, affirming relevance of the task force.
Effective market monitoring operations requires all hands to be on deck. The regulators, as well as the market executives or market union leaders, need to come together as a team to make our market work for everyone. As we flag up phase 1 of the joint market monitoring operations, which will be established in all our markets across the nation. So this essentially is phase 1, and it's starting with 4 markets, and it's starting with the FCT.
The FCCPC board solicits cooperation of stakeholders to ensuring better results for the benefits of all citizens.
We solicit the cooperation of the general public in providing credible information or intelligence or alerts on any violation of any consumer protection law or enactment in Nigeria. You can always send those alerts or information or intelligence via any of our hotlines, emails, or complaint portal, or our social media handles. That's to say that this task force will work with the consumers and also business operators, providing credible intelligence for us to be able to ensure that the markets are sanitized and everyone, both consumers and businesses, are very
of the representatives of the major markets across the city center of the Federal Capital Territory, including the Garki International Market, Garki Modern Market, Utako Ultra Modern Market, and Wuse Market, disclosed support while stressing sensitization and enlightenment campaign.
We agree with each other. Time to time we team up to enforce these things ourselves, the regulators and the traders, to form a common team to try to pin out and remove those things that we feel are harmful. I think it will not be difficult to change this partnership with this great corporation, but one thing is for sure: sensitization.
And we'll continue to maintain it. So the chairman, one of the chairman in the marketing and
according to the FCCPC, the Commission is fully prepared to delivering her mandate, priorities cooperation and collaboration with key stakeholders for greater success. Ile Eimeje, Aso Television News.
In line with efforts to strengthen its digital transformation strategy, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Didi Esther Walsin-Jack, has acknowledged full implementation of the strategy by the end of December 2025. Dr. Walsin-Jack announced this in Abuja during a press briefing to commemorate the 2025 African Public Service Day and Civil Service Week. Our correspondent, again, Ile Eimeje, who covered the briefing, files in the reports.
Briefing newsmen in Abuja on the upcoming African Public Service Day and Civil Service Week for year 2025, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Didi Esther Walsin-Jack, affirmed that it aligns with the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan between 2021 and 2025, highlighting relevance.
At the beginning of this year, we realized that the strategy plan, the FC25, ends this year, precisely December 31st of this year. And we said to ourselves, we must accelerate the implementation of the pillars of reform of that plan. And one of the key pillars of that plan is digitalization. And so we're saying to all the MDAs, you have to go paperless. And we're not saying what we are not doing or experiencing, because I'm happy to let you know that even before I came on board, the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation has been paperless.
While reiterating the theme for the event, she noted expectations and benefits.
I believe from this conference we are going to reap a lot of benefits, not only for Nigeria as a country, but for our federal civil service, our state civil services, and indeed for the private sector as well as the public sector. One thing this conference also is expected to do is to demystify the federal civil service. The private sector, we find out, does not know very much about the workings of the public service. And so for us, this is a very good handshake.
The head of the Civil Service of the Federation further urged for full participation, saying digital transformation is for the good of both the civil servants and the private sector. Ile Emeje, Aso Television News.
Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, has delivered a special invitation from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the President of Guinea-Bissau, Umaru Siseko Embalo, to attend the West African Economic Summit slated for June 20th to 21st, 2025 in Abuja. President Sisoko thanked President Tinubu for the initiative and promised to attend the summit with a high-quality delegation. The envoy is expected to proceed to Accra, Ghana, to continue the assignments. The federal government has expressed profound sorrow and extends its heartfelt condolences to the government and people of India over the tragic crash of Air India Flight 171 in Ahmedabad on Thursday. A statement issued by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs,